It had been 4 heartbreaking years. 4 years since David had set eyes on his son. 4 years since they'd idly canoed on this river behind his house. And now Sean's vacant seat seemed to call out to him, a painful reminder of a time when life seemed so blissful. How much do you miss that little boy?
I miss him every second of every day. The time we had together was the most special, precious moments. I can never describe the love I have for my son.
David kept Sean's room frozen in time, his little things all exactly the way he left them. After 4 years, I would think you'd be pretty beaten down, but you seem determined.
I won't ever quit on my son.
Never.
Never. How can you? How can you give up on your child? It's my legal, my moral, my God-given right to raise my son.
But at every turn, the Brazilian family of his now deceased wife, Bruna, seemed determined to make sure that never happened. Although they declined an interview with Dateline, in emails they sent to the media, they questioned David's motives, suggesting that all he really wanted was money.
It's not about money. And for them to suggest that is even sicker.
The allegation stems back to the civil suit David filed against Bruna. He named her parents in that lawsuit too, and the court ordered their U.S. assets, including this condo, frozen.
And that allowed us to seize the property and the bank accounts in the hopes that it would place pressure on Bruna and her family to return and comply with the order.
Later, David agreed to drop the parents from the case in exchange for a payment of $150,000. They're throwing that back in your face and saying, he's not interested in Sean, he just wants cash. Do you regret that you settled? Do you think that muddied it?
Legally, absolutely not. I didn't want to settle in that day of the court, and I was advised by my attorney to do so. It enabled me to pay off some legal bills.
David, who now ran a fishing charter business, had already gone through his savings. To help him with his legal expenses, his friends created a website called Bring Sean Home. They also launched a massive grassroots movement.
His supporters basically waged war on his behalf. I mean, there's really no other way to describe it.
They created a Facebook group and an online petition.
Help us bring Sean home from Brazil.
And organized rallies like this one in front of the Brazilian consulate in New York.
They need to follow the law and obey the treaty and bring Sean home.
Sympathetic letters and emails poured in, including this one from then-Senator Barack Obama. And when Dateline first broadcast his story last January, David made a desperate plea.
Who can help me? Who can help? I just need help.
My own involvement began when I actually saw the Dateline show.
David's story infuriated Congressman Chris Smith of New Jersey.
I'm a dad. I know what it's like to love and cherish your children. And when David made his appeal at the end of the show,
I just need help.
I was on the phone the next morning.
I mean, you've been the congressman for many, many years. We sat down and he looked me right in the eyes and he said, next time you have to go to Brazil, I'm going with you.
Just 3 days later, the congressman was on a plane with David, heading to Brasilia, Brazil's capital city. Smith had a stern message for Brazilian officials, a reminder that by not returning Sean, the country was violating a treaty that deals with international parental child abduction.
The reputation of Brazil is on the line here, and abductions are serious crimes.
As David accompanied Smith to meetings, he clung to a collection of photos and cards. Bruna had given him this one just 6 months before she took off with Sean.
You are my real love. Underline.
But one of David's greatest tests was yet to come. At a tense court hearing, he came face to face for the first time with João Paulo Lindsay Silva, the man claiming he should now be Sean's father.
They were facing each other, and David would look him in the eye. You'd see that he was close to tears a few times, but he held that in check.
When the marathon's 6-hour court session was finally over, the congressman emerged with some hopeful news.
Thankfully, David will have the opportunity to visit his son.
This time, Lindsay Silva made a promise in court. The family would allow David to spend time with Sean. And finally, after 4.5 devastating years, David felt himself exhale just a little. Now he could truly imagine his little boy back in his arms.
Yippee!
Yippee! I'm just gonna lay my eyes upon my son and try to do whatever I can to keep it together.
But Sean was no longer that little 4-year-old whom David had so lovingly called his little buddy. This was an 8-year-old boy. Would he even remember his dad? Would he still love him? Coming up, a father and son together again. Home video you've never seen of David and Sean's reunion.
I love you so much, Sean.
When Bringing Sean Home continues.